Okay, you're live. I have to waste a minute to make sure that it is actually taping while I'm also partly losing my voice. Change the hat and the vest from previous. I thought about wearing the fake bow tie because it's a little simpler, but it's also kind of big and I don't know, dorky looking maybe comparatively. I have other ones that are a little too busy, right, for the shirt. Okay, so we should be good. I had started to record this earlier, so if somebody was trying to tune in and then it vanished, well, that's because it was sloppy and there was no way to edit the problems out of that conveniently. Um, so if you're looking for more juicy content, go back and watch episode 3 or 4. This is going to be a little more of a catch-all. I was trying to scroll through and find stuff that I hadn't already used in the previous videos, and for some reason my timeline was all, well, I don't know if we want to call it timeline, but I had covered everything from, excuse me, March in the last video. That's why it's so long, twice as long as it should be or more. But I tried to be current, but then some of the more current stuff I didn't want to get into yet. I'm going to save that for episode 6. Some of this will also be in episode 6, but it won't be too redundant, and chances are you won't have watched the whole thing anyway, so it won't matter. But yeah, it used to be that, you know, you had, this is not the channel where I do like a lot of the other channels where I find clips of women on TikTok and just ridicule them for the, you know, the laugh factor or whatever. This is actually taking a similar person, but we know that they work for one of these companies, Match.com or the subsidiary. I'm pretty sure it's Tinder. And so I've chosen Tinder as the title because it's short and easy to follow. But it kind of applies to all the dating apps, including the competitors of the Match.coms. Probably Matt Walsh just did a long video about that, so I'm not going to reiterate much of that. Some of that's in the description, the comments. The first half of his video is, you know, probably must-see TV, so, you know, watch that 10 minutes. You don't have to watch that to watch this, but he's focused on the consumer fraud aspect of things. You know, and he goes in some directions I hadn't necessarily thought of, but I was already doing these videos based on, again, this is the mindset of probably one of their typical employees who are, you know, falling in the category of the awful, what, you know, Gutfeld or whoever came up with, you know, the affluent, white, female, urban, liberal, or leftist. Doesn't have to be white, though, to be, you know, clueless and overeducated. Caucasian, whatever. But I think to someone said, oh, the W is for wealthy, but affluent and wealthy mean the same thing. So W, whatever. But yeah, like they used to, you know, it used to be like Bridget Jones' diary, right? They would write in their diary and nobody would ever read it and they'd be mad if you read it. Now they post it all on TikTok or other social media. So some of this or most of this comes from Instagram. And I'm not, you know, again, it's kind of hard for me to edit all this cohesively. This episode is definitely not cohesive. It bounces around a lot because some of this should be in the next video and will, again, be probably in the next video. And I can't remember if I used some of this before or not, but I don't think so. But so Tinder gal was saying about the Bitcoin stocks back in February. And someone had posted, Lori, this is wild. Is crypto ending? Which obviously it hasn't yet. Anyway, so more projection and her behavior for investing. We don't know. But she puts, nah, men aren't rational. They're emotional. There's always dumb ones who will buy the dip and then beta cucks who will follow suit. So I don't know what's dumb about that because you're supposed to buy the stocks low and then they go up in the money. And if you're buying on the up, yes, you're going to make more or less money than the people who are buying at the very bottom and making the more money if the stock goes up. But if the stock doesn't go up, then the beta cucks aren't going to keep buying it because the other people are just losing money. And then let's pretend that women are infallible and they never make bad investments. I don't know. Okay, sure. But so yeah, they're dumb enough to keep afloat, I guess. If you know, if it's viable investing in this company. So then, like I said, I'm skipping a whole big chunk of stuff that'll be in the next episode. But discussing why women can afford things that men can't. Apparently, they don't sports bet and they don't play the stock market wrong ever. And then housing. So Callie Girl says, this is because single women save their money by not going 50-50 on dates. I don't know why it says Callie. It sounds like a guy saying this, but it might be a woman indicting her own gender. Not sure. Whereas single men are losing money paying for women when they go out on dates. Shrugs. Yeah, and this was what I was really talking about a lot in the last video, is that if men go on 5 dates in a week, you're out hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. Whereas if women go on 5 dates in a week, they get free dinner, free concert tickets, maybe jewelry, an Uber ride if necessary, or he picks her up and drives her himself. You know, sometimes you meet in the spot, or sometimes she has to pay for her own Uber or whatever. I'm not saying it's always 50-50, 100%, but it's usually not 50-50, right? So then Tinder gal comes back and says, that's a shit argument because women spend money trying to look good for the dates. We have to buy makeup. We have to get our nails done, eyelashes done, date, outfits. I don't know what date means there, but okay. Oh, there's a comma where there shouldn't be. Date, outfits, laser, hair removal. So getting your hair done and getting other hair removed. Botox. You don't really. Okay. Filters, push-up bras, lingerie. No comma. That comma there. You name it. There is, again, no comma. You name it. There is essentially economic burden updating on women as well. So we're supposed to feel all sorry for you that you had to look good for the date where the guy is spending a ton of money on you. So Anton says, skill issue for real. And Meckel says, you don't have to do any of those things. You choose to in order to trick a man into thinking you are something you are not. That's why I get me a bad A woman who doesn't do any of that, and we have so much more time and money for activities. Daily Life says, barely LOL. Also, that's on you. Nobody is asking you to. How is it you place that on men too? Geez. And then Two Soups says, you don't have to do any of that. Who lied to you about that? Other women? Question mark. Yeah, pretty much. Cat with a K says, there's really no point in arguing with either a bot or a pick-me, which I guess is supposed to mean her or the people arguing with her. I'm not positive. She'd hate being called a pick-me, even though that's what she totally is. I feel like I read this before in the other video, but whatever, we're going with it because we needed to start somewhere. Fox says, no, you do that for yourselves as you always tell us. And does the home ownership take into account houses taken in divorce? Most men in divorce lose the house and still have to pay towards it. So that's, yeah, see, that's not stuff I wanted to get into here. Bolt, I don't know. You don't have to do that at all. Y'all do extra for a date that don't even need to cost that much. Y'all just need to look decent enough for a date because most men ain't going to care how much you spend to look ready for a date. Again, yeah, a lot of my whole channel is devoted to guys not wearing hoodies and, backwards hats, and women too. Right? All of which, Carol with a K also. All of which we keep telling y'all to stop doing. Adele. Natural beauties don't have to, LOL. But then Johnny comes back. Yeah, she's making the ugly, insecure girls argument. laugh emoji with the crying tears. Beyond stupid oxymoron. Gone. I thought you don't look good for men but yourselves. Which one is it? Yeah, exactly. We know that. Rob, men spend money looking good for dates too. My haircuts are 50 every other week. I should be every week ideally. Oh, should be every week ideally. My cologne costs more than your perfume. My car probably costs more. Even if you go to a simple mid-range restaurant where it's $50 per plate, 52 dates is $2,600 a year, and that's one date a week. Same woman be having Friday, Saturday, and Sunday booked with dates, 150 of free food a week, $7,800 a year. And again, $50 a person is a very basic restaurant, not the five-star restaurant a lot of women want. Then ASCII says, all a bunch of y'all do for yourselves, as y'all have made very clear when we say we don't like all that. Single men spend money on women. Single women spend money on themselves. A woman can have multiple men spending money on her. An older lady I worked with told me once she has a man she only talks to paying her phone bill. Her husband pays the rent and most other bills, and her side guy she sleeps with pays her light bill and the car note. She told me not to trust y'all in ISTG. I don't know what that means. Yeah. Johnny says, no, miss, you made the shit argument that men are not responsible for the entirety of your life and how you choose to live it. Yeah, we don't owe you food, I guess. You can't be serious because this is seriously retarded. Women overspend and overindulge in consumerism. That's a you problem. It's why 80% of all advertising is geared toward women, more likely to impulse buy and get things you don't need, more likely to go into debt not knowing the value of a dollar. The more you learn and the more you realize how incompetent you all are. Rob says, you aren't buying a new outfit and makeup for every date. Yeah, I hope not. Probably not. Alex says, I'm happy y'all have homes that are thriving, but what does that have to do with men? No question mark. Noir says, it's 2026, man. We have to pay for that as well. I guess and then laugh emoji. I guess he means her date crap as well as her house. I don't know what that means. Daily comes and says, you think the disparity ends at dates? And Aaron comes to agree. Exactly. Even after dating, they want you to pay for everything, even when they have a job making as much as you do, or in her case, probably more. Because she insists that she's dated men with less money or who are shorter or blah, blah, blah. My money is my money. His money is our money is a saying for a reason. Then Aaron says somewhere more directly to her on her comment, you don't need any of these things. Literally, no man cares about nails. Only women care about nails. Every time men say you don't need to wear all that makeup, women yell, we don't do it for men. Again, a little redundant here, but. And besides, a single date can run hundreds of dollars. While I saw a woman break down her per usage of cost of her makeup. Sorry, I read that badly. Break down the per usage cost of her makeup and aesthetics, and it came down to about the cost of a fast food cheeseburger, which is what, like $8 to $13 somewhere in there. Anna then comes in and wants to argue with Aaron. A single date can run $100. It doesn't have to. Women are expected to look good all the time. Even if it's not for men, it's for women's confidence, or even for other women, so she looks like an appealing person in general, which again has nothing to do with dating, or little. Most women absolutely have some combination of costs to look good. Again, that's not my problem. This is often due to insecurities caused by media and social pressure. Well, the media is run by liberals, and social pressure is other women, again, mostly. So that's nothing to do with what she said about needing her Botox and her lingerie. Like, what do I care if you have lingerie if I'm not home with you at the end of the evening? So then, of course, Somebody else comes in, Rob. If it's for your confidence, then it's not expected. That's a self-imposed goal. Men aren't going to shame you for wearing no makeup and sweatpants. In fact, a lot of men would be more attracted to you. Well, I don't know that that's entirely true, but that's, again, the dumbing down of society or whatever. Tommy says, again, nobody's expect that of you except you. He put expect you, but he meant accept you. You literally said it yourself. It's for your confidence. It's if it up to men, more women would be going natural. Then Anna comes back at Tommy. More women would not be going natural, and even going natural takes more money for a woman than for a man. Again, how? The other guy just explained how his regimen costs more possibly than yours. Men often don't know what a woman. Men often don't know when a woman is wearing light makeup. Well, that's not going natural. That's pretending you're going natural. So that cost is definitely not what that man is really necessarily looking for. Women should be allowed to feel confident during a date. If presenting herself nicely is how she accomplishes that, why would anyone object? Well, there's a number of reasons, and they listed some of them, and you ignored that. But again, you don't have to be Caucasian to be overeducated and clueless, but we don't even know if Anna's educated at all. So Tommy comes back. Literally, how does going natural take more money? That's make no good sense with it whatsoever. And then there's some emoji there of a circle of yellow above a mountain of red, or I don't know if that's a fist or a face or what. So then Anna says, women put a lot more money into skincare and hair. Again, not really relevant. So then G4 says, I'm a male and I use SA cleaner, toner, moisturizer, and Treatonin cream daily. You can feel confident without makeup. LOL. That's called self-esteem issues. So then Anna says, do you need the extra term in general in order to comprehend that when talking about a group of people, it is a generalization? Lots of women feel confident without makeup, but it has become a societal standard to show that you take care of yourself. So then G4 says, yeah, that's a lot of people's problems, trying to keep up with someone else. Anna says, your point now is that a woman who doesn't wear makeup can't keep up with a woman who does? Well, probably, because Botox gal just said that she needs lingerie and makeup and her hair removal so she doesn't have a mustache and blah, 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 and whatever. So yeah, I guess. It's almost like men actually do want women to wear makeup. Again, that didn't have anything to do with men. You just said that, again, out of nowhere. G4, I could care less if a woman decided to wear makeup or not. It's her choice. But if you need to wear it, that's a self-esteem issue. So then Anna says, I don't care if a man decides to take a woman out to dinner on a first date or not. It's his choice. But if you need to spend a bunch of money on a woman you don't know, that's a bad choice issue. Well, that's dating. You just said that never mind. I can't even unpack where that went. Anyway, so do with that what you will. But of course, as you see, the original poster abandoned this immediately and didn't even get involved. But we have tons of her quotes from other places. But again, her initial assertion is that it's just not fair that she needs lingerie and Botox and I don't, or men don't, or whatever. Okay, sure. I don't know if I skipped this before. I think I did. Charm is deceitful and beauty is passing, but a woman who hears the Lord, she shall be praised. Proverbs 31. I don't know what this was from exactly. Por amor vivremos. Right. So there goes into a long argument about traditional wives versus the loser spinsters that are these awfuls and talk women. But there's been an explosion on TikTok of men don't want me trend 35 plus. Like I said, I'm referencing a lot of the other content now where that age might even be younger now. But of course, they're using a filter for their face, so they want to pretend that they're 10 or 15 years younger than they really are. We don't know their actual age, but we kind of can guess that you're pushing 40 and still single or divorced. So many of them might be more attractive than Tinder gal, but that, it'd be hard to judge. But no men for them now either. Still, like they've all sprayed themselves with man repellent because all the smart men run away and marry somebody else. And with Tinder gal, apparently this usually takes about 6 to 8 months and lasts up until right before or right after the holidays, maybe more often, frequently. Don't know exactly. Again, don't have all the dates and photos to go with these rants. But so then I had done a bunch of comments on older videos that had popped up in my Facebook memories recently. So that's what this next chunk is just me ruminating on this topic, this phenomenon. Like I said, this video is kind of a bounce around video, not going to be as juicy as the other ones. So in 2015, I had joked, I guess I'm not that funny. Maybe I'd be funnier if I met more interesting people. And then 2 years later, probably reacting to that memory, I had put, remember when you were young and dating seemed worth it, worthwhile, worth the effort, worth doing? I don't know. After 30, it seems like a waste of time and money, is what we were just reading. Almost, more fun to watch hockey alone or with a dude who loves hockey too than, like in the past, I had always gone to Staples Center and I had seen, or sometimes the Duck Pond, and even been to the Shark Tank, and seen a lot of women there out on the patio, and you go to try and talk to them and they all have a boyfriend or a husband inside who paid for her ticket while she sits out here to drink wine and gossip with her girlfriends and not even watching the game. Like, well, okay, that was like a $30 admission just for you to not even look at the game, Also easier to enjoy record albums without someone talking over them. Common problem for me. Audiophiles will understand. But then you're going to get the blowback from the ignorant young guys. Oh, but what about 6? Yeah, you really think marriage is just one long F fest? I'm sure it has its perks. Clip my toenails, smell my farts. I'm paying for it, right? We're out of milk. Like I said, I was just being funny here. Most of the day working. Yeah, most of your day is spent working, not with the one you love or desire or crave the most, even if you actually do like this woman still after all the years, unlike the Chads who will never care about Tinder gal and figure it out in 2 weeks, or whatever. Ordinarily, I love girls who love to read, but I hate liars and hypocrites and phony, fake, blah, blah, catcher in the rye stuff. Worthless memories trotting around. Let's see, the world doesn't care what I want. Almost a poem here. Right, okay. Stuff used for part 1 or 2, not sure. But yeah, in the entertainment industry, nobody would want, especially most female comics. I think I was watching the show Funny Girls around this time. I had met a couple of the nicer ones in Pasadena once in the afternoon. And but yeah, most of them are transactional 304 types, apart from the lesbians and the other man-hating feminates who all their material is about misogyny, basically, because one guy screwed them over in college or whatever. And then a lot of them are groupies that, think they're also celebrities. What the guy calls the chuckle effers later in the thing, somewhere in here. Also, Tinder gal does not know what irony means, but that's for a separate thing. My comments all true, even before I knew these women. So yeah, I was trying to write a screenplay about the comedy scene and make it more realistic than, say, Punchline or whatever. So at your typical comedy show or open mic, it's like there's 30 of us here, but there's only one JJ. And she's a bipolar vegan feminist, but I guess somebody has to do it and jump on the grenade if they can. If she's, straight. She also may be an alcoholic drug addict, but most of the other ones who aren't in entertainment are now too. So at least she thinks she has a sense of humor or talent or is creative in some way, even if she isn't funny. And has only been doing comedy a couple months now because her therapist suggested it, even though she's not getting funnier or healthier, better. Oh, am I talking in stereotypes and cliches again? Sorry, but that's all Tinder gal does. So again, I thought that would be appropriate for here. Just to throw it in. On the plus side, she'll probably, back to the gal at the show. She'll probably get wasted and have S with you again after she bitches to everyone that you effed her and never called her. Unlike those other gals who are just going to reject you and then vanish completely when they finally start to warm up to you after seeing you around for a couple months or years. Yeah, I don't know. Again, Tinder gal only seems to date guys who use her and dump her and throw her away like yesterday's garbage, as it turns out, as we've learned in the last year or whatever. So some of this repeats from that because some of this was a reply to someone else's post that might have been in the Alex Grace comments. I don't remember. But then Tinder gal had been using that phrase, but incorrectly, to apply to the female comics or something, or the men who want the female comics versus the women who want the comics, because it's the women who are the groupies who want the comics who are typically called that. So then she starts calling the guys who want to date the female comedians that, even though, as I was just saying, most of the female comedians are undateable for any number of reasons. And the ones that are, they don't want to date them that much. They just want to take them home for a night. So Alex put, so this is anticlimactic because I'm doing the joke after all that explanation. Women who have S with male comics are called chuckle effers. Men who try to have S with female comics are known as male comics. But again, he doesn't say they're trying to date them. He just points out what I just said already, ruining the joke. So I was supposed to read that first and then read all that other stuff. So we can skip all this now, as having been done. Because I just stepped on my own joke, or his joke that was for my joke or whatever. But so then, a lot of them are the hypocrites and the liars or whatever it was supposed to tie in. A lot of order, all done out of order. Like I said, I had a lot of trouble editing this to make it good. So back in January, K from says, I'm noticing that women have a very limited vocabulary and ability to articulate themselves. And they rarely have anything interesting to say either, but a hypocrite Tinder gal should talk because she's a dirty mouth loser, spinster, transactional, promiscuous, etc. Blah, blah, blah. But so I feel like I read this already in episode 2 or something, but I'm not positive. She comes back, only dumb women are willing to waste time with you. Okay, projection, gaslighting, how would she know? So women like you then, I guess? Worthless dopehead, again, promiscuous women. He probably dodged a bullet. She might be about the dumbest one because where's her husband? Again, where's your family? Where's your happy domestic life? So here's the bonus detour. This is Taylor Fiend comments that I had replied to, or my comments to his video. They don't even typically define conservative correctly anymore now. I don't know if that was referring to specific women or the media or what. But then I think the complaining about conservative men and not knowing what a conservative man actually is. Because, again, I kept looking for the part and I couldn't find it where she was telling the guy if he goes on the dating apps or whatever, if he plays his cards right, he can be up to his neck in vajayjay. And he said, nice try, 304. I'm looking for a real relationship, not a hookup culture like you. I want a real wife, not some, promiscuous spinster. She had gotten that wrong trying to entice him and it blew up in her face, but I never did find the bit. But here it is, paraphrased for what it's worth. The other such as much less the political discourse, but gets clumped in anyway. Yeah, I had a whole lots of stuff about politics that I'm leaving out of this because that was from separate conversations. Might end up in episode 7. We'll see how it goes. But conflation is convenient for hyperbole too, separate tangents and topics and such that take too long to unpack, like that earlier argument with Sam and, or what was her name? I forgot her name already. It wasn't Sam, was it? It was. Now I lost my spot. Anna, sorry, Anna. Anna versus Tommy and Anna versus B4 or whatever. But same with Tinder Gal. In most of her arguments, it's projection and gaslighting. And so, yeah, conflation and stereotyping and all that. Like I said, they get mad when you do it, but they're hypocrites because it's all they do. Separate tangents and topics and such take too long for unpacking when trying to apply in specific scenario, etc. Was going to resist just calling some self-absorbed narcissist idiots and the usual complaints, but that's kind of what we're boiling down to. So in the video, he zeroes in on age that isn't 40 now, but with some questionable results. Younger and younger as they dig their heels in all they want while it's just bouncing from one Chad to the next worst one. Yeah, you know. So yeah, 40 isn't even the wall age anymore. It's probably more like 32. Quote, these women are not worth dating, guys. Insufferable and not trustworthy. Plenty more of them other videos stacked up that I didn't watch yet. It can be overwhelming to watch them all in a row, but I try to the pertinent headlines more than blah, blah, blah. She's looking for her simp, but again, doesn't respect the simps or stay with them either. Rejects them all pretty quickly. Insult to do something nice for a man is thing. I'm not sure what. It kind of bounces around her. She picks the wrong guys always, even when has options. And how many end up hookups who ghost her that she doesn't list as a boyfriend? Yeah, the body count question again. They like to start arguments and confrontation for self-sabotage so they can complain that there's just no good men in their toxic single friends after the next day, or even the same night, right? So Bad Boy says woman cares about man's future, man cares about woman's past, and that was from a year ago. So then from before, on a personal note, I was more visible in my 20s because I was, a drummer in a group that had, that if I was in a drummer in a music group, a rock band, if that had been a big hit to success, I would have had way more attention, from toxic groupies looking for the party. And I was already sick of them by the time I was 21 or 22. 35 is about the age when the birth defects become an issue in the family scenario, having children, that they all of a sudden want when they're over 30. But yeah, this from those other videos and the doctor on The View that they don't want to believe either. She's always arguing with people about the birth defects or the men's problem or the men's fault. And 35 isn't really the cutoff age because she's going to have children when she's 50 with some hunky billionaire who shows up out of nowhere to sweep her off her feet, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So yeah, like I said, this is all disjointed nonsense, but whatever. If anybody's really watching 30 minutes into this, it was about the same length when I deleted the last version, but we're at page 11 of 33, so we'll see how long I keep going. Skips chunks from thing now. Not that these common interests have panned out as necessarily any real common ground, like I said in part 1. So again, part 1 of a blog, not part 1 of these videos. So again, here's where we go back to the weeds of intangibles that are really a bigger issue when you paid a bunch of money to meet this person instead of just seeing them at random. So dating apps. I was trying to write a longer blog about dating apps that I will not be reading here, but they were doing speed dating things, and I don't know how much of those they do anymore. So I was reading about the speed dating app or aspect of the apps and things. Okay, so really a bigger issue when you paid a bunch of money to meet this person instead of just seeing them at random and finding out later how much they hate you or wish you would die or think men should just be breathing ATM or, you know, labor machine or whatever that these feminists have adopted as their new stance. That was the video I was watching earlier, I think. Alex Grace, or was it the other day? I don't remember. Someone meeting you for only an initial blind date would likely not have such strong feelings against someone if they legitimately wanted to meet men and all that. But I'm going ahead with this sample rather than invent hypothetical women because, again, California. And and again, Tinder gal as a likely representation of the next generation, even though maybe a smidge below the correct age range of all the TikTok women, but in that demographic where we still find the largest percentage of singles supposedly desiring long-term relationship or marriage. Whether she claims she is, but whether that's accurate, I would argue is not, because again, she seems like way more of a serial dater, always bragging about how many men she has in her DMs. You're well past the age where that should be a boast. You're well past the age where nightlife should be a thing. These other women who are already married have soccer practice with the kids the next morning, and they're watching Little Mermaid on TV. They're not worried about going out to the nightclub every, you know, Thursday through Sunday or whatever. I mean, some of the personalities, yeah. The younger ones are less likely to have children unless they had children too young, in which case they're having difficulty finding a partner because of that. But that's a different demographic of the out of wedlock, which would pop up as a red flag, right? And a lot of disqualified immediately for the swipe apps. I'm not sure. So here we have Tinder gal considers her radical beliefs to be moderate. Again, I'm skipping the politics here because I had to cut and paste. It has a very anti-male attitude overall, which flies in the face of a likely dating app candidate, but as previous vids have shown, is largely symptomatic, increasingly with subsequent generations, so including some of the men. So they don't even realize how much they despise the men they wish to entrap or something, like the guy, or even arguing about the makeup and hair and bull crap. Or they totally realize it and think the man is just an ATM. Again, the date is going to cost him, not her, most of the time, no matter how they slice it and dice it. But I had to buy a car to drive to the date. No, you didn't. You could have got an Uber and he would have paid for it. Liar. So yeah, we're setting that aside for now, going forward. Covered that. Okay, mutual career ambitions could be a thing, but she would not help a guy with connections and stuff, but she would expect him to help her get jobs and that sort of thing. Hypocrisy, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Promiscuity and gossip is already mentioned before in that video where they are dating for free dinner and then connect with the spinster friends instead of wanting to be single, really, blah, blah, blah. So they're lying. They want to be single because they're serial daters. She's looking for her simp, the rare other side of the coin. Yeah, maybe. But most of them only want to date chads, so the simp is still at home alone. This is from Alex Grace, not Taylor Fiend, for sure. So Alex Grace is always talking about dating these high-quality women, but where are they? I'm still waiting to figure out where he tells us you're supposed to find them. He offers no solution at all. It's a bait and switch. He keeps telling us relationship advice, but you actually have to already be in the relationship. But again, you're not going to be in that relationship if you're relying on dating apps, because he definitely doesn't tell you to check out dating apps. He tells you as recently as 2 weeks ago or whatever that they're a scam. Again, the whole point of this, they're basically consumer fraud, and the employees who work there don't care about you finding a relationship either. So again, long-winded explanation. So like I said earlier, either way I win, I guess, bullet dodged, but I would feel more like the winner with a quality partner like those other guys already have, underscoring high quality, blah, blah, blah. So this was from whatever video that was. I find toxic narcissist women hate my honesty. Mentioned that plenty. They thrashing about right now in some other comment section than here. Yeah, like I said, he gets a lot of posts of hate watchers or whatever. I don't get any watchers at all. So if you're viewing this, you are a very rare unicorn. Like I said, try and tell her all you want. Likely she won't listen. So again, where are these good women in the first place? Then in the last video, there was a cute one, and I wanted him to reveal what her page was so I could watch her videos, but he never tells us that either. Okay, so other comment. This was out of order, and there was a photo or something that was posted that was deleted. I couldn't see what it was, and I assume it was I couldn't tell if it was men can get you or dump you or some hater biatch, but it said something like flags as red as their clothing. So I wasn't sure if that was about women or men. I could only see women commenting, so I wasn't sure what man, or if it was a tranny or not, or something. Then it finally revealed there was something about a baby reveal. So I guess what happened was a guy got dragged to a baby shower, which is not where any man ever wants to be. But they were heaping on him for this, not that he was ever going to read their comments, because it was a comment on a photo or a video or something that he didn't post, right? So Jader says, God, he hates her. Men aren't lonely enough, which is a common refrain that they keep saying. Men need to be more lonely. The person who works for the dating app, who's supposed to be finding you a relationship directly or indirectly, wants you to be lonely. But that's not what Tinder Gal said. Tinder Gal said, right? What is this man's problem? Well, his problem is that he's a man, because we know that you think 80% of men are terrible, as we learned in episode 3. They're all losers. And there's a emoji, I think, in men aren't lonely enough. I think that's what that is. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Well, what's your problem? He has a wife apparently, and you don't have a husband. So how he relates to his wife, you call hatred. Okay. Just because he went to an event that apparently he's not enjoying. So cutie, whoever said some other context, like I said, I didn't have the context before, now I do. Is it possible that he loves her, that he's willing to put aside any of his own social insecurity for being even remotely the center of attention, but instead of masking, he's just there? Perspective is everything. Hate is a really easy place to go. This man looks uncomfortable and is just there for her to have her moment. Look at his face once she looks at him. Again, I didn't get to see any of that, so I guess it was a video. But yeah, these two feminists come in and are talking about how terrible this man is. Obviously, neither of you know how to pick a good one, or you'd have a relationship right now. So then Dark says, what makes you think he hates her? Curious, do you expect men to be performative? Yes, they do. No question mark there. Incorrect punctuation, but yeah, unwed, loser, spinsters, passing judgment. Like I said, this was an event that has traditionally only been for females in the past. Now all of a sudden men are expected to join in, and why? So then Sadie says, or he thinks gender reveals are really effing stupid. Because they are. Yeah, I don't know if Sadie is a guy or a gal or a dog. I thought it was a guy, but maybe it's a dog. Don't know. Maybe it's a female dog. Then Iggy says, let's see. Yeah, women are hated because you made yourself that way. Good job. Well, I don't want to say if all women have done that. I'd say the feminine ones anyway. Yep. Where are all the good men? Well, they married somebody else already, so good luck with that. So then, bored and home on a Friday night early. This was somebody else had posted, Kate, women 35 plus, name your top 3 strengths and be honest. Why should a man choose you over a younger, prettier, richer, smarter, more promising women? Well, I don't know if it matters because the men won't choose you if they're smart anyway. But so she replies, Tinder gal. Whoops, never heard my shoe make that noise before. Tinder replies at 11 p.m. ish. What TF? You're weird for posting this. You forgot the question mark after F. What TF? 1. I have better stories and experiences. No, you don't. They all suck. We've been reading them. They're all terrible, and it's all redundant about same what the other women are saying on TikTok about how they chose a terrible man and want to blame all men for that terrible man. 2. Wisdom from life. Well, your wisdom brings you only more chads or you're staying lonely. You just said it's pointless to date and you might as well stay single. Or maybe I didn't read that part yet. It's in here. Don't worry. We're only on page 14. And oh, geez. 3. Richer? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Well, one of the extra question marks got put down here. Why would someone be younger be richer? Because they don't all have the same exact life as you. 4 laugh emojis as if all younger women are automatically poor because she was at that age or something. That part of your prompt made no sense. No, your diatribe here makes no sense. On what planet is someone fresh out of college and out earning someone 15 years into a career? Who wrote this? Again, who says they're all fresh out of college? She can be a poor little bimbo who works in a diner and not have to be richer to attract Leonardo DiCaprio. So covered plenty of that in part 4. Yeah, not all young women have the same parents and their income as you, nor your history about being married and having 3 jobs situation. But richness comes in other forms than bitter old man hate feminine hag 304 rhetoric. They can still be smarter and more promising in different ways too, like promising for getting pregnant and having a family for a younger man who doesn't want a woman over 35 because he wants to have healthy children. Other variables: less body count, less baggage. Your great stories are all red flags, like I just said, to any sane, smart man. It's just a revolving door of chads whom drop you after they add to their body, the body count on top of your bad marriage. You've had 15 years and clearly still stink at your job because, again, you're supposed to be helping people get, well, she's not supposed to be helping people get matched. She's supposed to be helping the company make fraud money. So we're splitting hairs. But you're overpaid by a loser industry that is cratering, supposedly, according to Matt Walsh and others, but not quite fast enough for my taste or for you to be out on your butt yet, apparently. We're working on it. One video at a time. So then self-love. Oh, never mind. That was not a quote. Then Kate came back and actually replied. Usually they ignore her comments. This one actually replied. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is a different comment. You hate the job that pays your bills, but love the man that don't. So, yeah, go be a lesbian already. Nobody's stopping you. Or find a better man because he owes you free dinner, I guess. So then... Totally new thread. Simon said, oh, you know what? This is for part 6. I'm not going to read this. Okay. So that's going to save us a bit of time because this is a pretty long chunk. Right. This is more about finances again. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so in the previous episode, we had a bit about she had done TikTok videos to try and help men write better profiles for their potential partners to see, so they wouldn't give the women the ick and get more matches. And of course, everyone had said they're not going to get more matches anyway because of this or this or this. And she wanted to argue with all of them because of this or this or this. But so in the first video, I had read all the comments already, but then some new comments came in. So these are those that obviously I can't add to the previous video, but I can put them in the descriptor. When I'm done doing all this nonsense, I can cut and paste here. But so in the first video, she thought she would rage bait conservative men and got mostly indifference instead of all the hate comments that she was hoping to heap on. So then in the next video, she took the less sanctimonious advice approach and kind of softened her tone. There was like 3 or 4 videos, so don't ask me to remember which one was which. But so finally a comment came in from Grouchy, who said, I did not have a lady friend help with my dating profile. I did make sure to put my hobbies up on said profile, medieval reenactment and LARP, along with me doing said activities. My now wife of 20 years reached out to me because you did not look boring, quote unquote. She put an obscure Lord of the Rings reference in there and I answered promptly. So that was a success story way back when the dating apps were legitimate dating apps, though, not what they are now. So this is not really helpful, but I'm reading it anyway. And then, but then, because she had put, find a woman who shares your hobbies by selecting hobbies that she would like, not that you would like sports or whatever that guys like, that women don't like, blah, blah, blah. And so the helpful advice was, you know, tell her you like Jane Austen books, but be honest when you tell her you like Jane Austen books, which to, of course, Kaz then says, lie, got it. Yeah, exactly. It seems to work on her anyway, because all she complains about is the 2 men who either had women stowed away somewhere or told her they played 8 instruments and loved her dearly, and then said she was as disposable as a pack of cigarettes or whatever at the convenience store. So, okay. Next was, this goes back to the earlier video 2 or 3, probably 3, maybe even 1. Where basically every man over 40 to her, even though she's pretty much in that demographic now, whether she believes it or not, she sees men in their 40s as radically uneffable. I have some news for her. So, yeah, they're all bald and none of their equipment works, was kind of the quote. Iron says, a woman's prime approval is 18 to 30. A man's prime appeal is 30 plus. Men have more time than women to find a spouse because the ratio of desirability is much higher for a man, and this is why men take their time to find the right one. Sorry, my nostril itches. I'm not trying to pick anything in there. And I didn't mean to stick my thumb in there quite so far as I did, because I know I'm going to get a comment about that, if nothing else, if anybody is still watching in an hour of this bullshit. Men have more time for women to find a spouse because the ratio of desirability is much higher for a man, and this is why men take their time to find the right one. Well, not always, but maybe. I don't know. There's no statistics. This is just this guy spouting off. Do you know what prime means? Far from saying that everyone out of their prime is ugly, they can still be desirable. Men's prime is 35 to 40. Am I going to cry about it at 45? Both of us will still be better than average because of our lifestyle. So this is not the same guy as the Lord of the Rings guy, just some guy giving dating advice or whatever on the Instagram. Or Natalie comes back and says, you don't know what beauty means if you don't think your wife gets more beautiful with each passing day. So Iron comes back. We are talking about pure physical appearance here. Unless we want to have an alternate reality where we are all blind, I am not stupid to know that one day I will be old and ugly, but I don't care. If you want to have the conversation on what is more important, yes, I agree. This is the punctuation's all incorrect here. Sorry. If you want to have the conversation on what is more important, then I agree. Yes, I agree. A person's heart is much more important than what they look like. But don't dump this shit on me, LOL. So this is when Tinder gal comes in at 10 a.m. Men in their 40s become radically uneffable. Well, by whom? Not every woman thinks the same as you, and you've bagged plenty of men, probably some in their 40s. But most of them are married and won't look twice at you or once anyway. So because she thinks she's dating in the top 20 percentile of men, but they're mostly married. She's actually dating in the top 20 percentile of Chads who are on the dating apps. Again, not the men who are quality men who are looking for partners who aren't on the dating apps at all. Again, the Matt Walsh video touches on that a little bit from a slightly different angle. Chesty says, we get it. You were attracted to little girls and old men. And then Gaslighty. Nice try, fake name. So yeah, I don't know who's being accused here. Oh, Chesty's attacking Iron, I guess. And Iron says, my wife is 32, but he's 45. So they are having a disparity relationship. That's why Tinder gal picked up on it and had to throw in her 2 cents because according to he's a pedophile, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word. But that's what Chesty is implying. So then Candy says, oh, wow, you have a wife? Does she know she's no longer wanted? Yeah, more gaslighting. Iron Mike says, that's how you understood the original post. Ha, 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 ha. So then Tinder gal comes in, maybe the next day. You literally just said her value peaked and is now declining based on the age range you provided. No, that was more just about you. So then he says, no, I did not say value. I said prime appeal. Big difference. Women are far more valuable if they want to be at older ages. I don't really see how in the way he's saying, but okay. Because again, she already said in similar related to this, her stories are so amazing. No, your stories are hair-raising at best. And most of them have to do with you spreading your legs for the wrong man for 15 years or more. So then James, I guess this is a separate post. Dating nightmare. I'm 43. She's 28. Normal 15-year range. Consensus is 5 to 15 years difference. I think I'm safe. After the date, I get this text. I don't think it's going to work. Your profile says doctor. Turns out you have a philosophy degree. And when I asked nicely about you buying my son a Christmas gift, you looked horrified. No thanks. I'm better than cheap. Can't date young, can't date old. I'm better than cheap, end quote. And then he says, can't date young, can't date old. What's the solution? So then Tinder gal wants to be all helpful for some reason. Says 30-something men are way hotter than 43. All of them? I'm sure there's plenty of undesirable ones who don't look that good that you refuse to date. And this was also at 10 a.m.-ish. So yeah, she didn't seem to want a 30-year-old man. What she was talking about, that they were too young and immature and didn't have their own apartment and didn't have a headboard and didn't have on their bed. And most of them will think you're old and ugly already too, because you're over 35 or whatever. So, and many of the ones already 30 who are 30 are already married, actually, to younger gals as well. Younger than you anyway, and they already have children anyway. Like I said in the last video, they're going to be grandparents before you're going to be a wife, probably. Let's see. Women still wanted to make out with me in the 40s. Even though I didn't have great luck. I wasn't totally undesirable. But she was a gold digger who wanted a surgeon who just gave her her ATM money, apparently, his ATM, like his money like an ATM. Sorry, I'm reading this all very badly. Yeah, too bad he's not a plastic surgeon. He could give her a facelift and a B job for her stripper gig. So then James says some are in, some aren't. Just go look at my videos and you'll see how I transcend age. I don't know. Some aren't, I believe, is what that's supposed to say. Meaning men can look different at different ages and better and worse, yes. So then here we have Zeus in another different spot. Says virginity means she brings no emotional baggage, no ex still lingering in her head, no comparisons, no trauma, just a clean slate, and that's priceless. And this is the opposite of the insufferable 304, like Tinder gal, right? Look in the mirror, princess, right? Because she comes in all angry as always. It also at 11 a.m. or no, sorry, at 6:15 p.m. on a different day, I assume. Oh, this was right before New Year's. So yeah, we're going back in time. It also comes with curiosity from having experienced very little. If you don't live up to the fantasy in her head, she'll always wonder if someone else would have. Laugh emoji, laugh till cry, ×5. I married my first many moons ago. Laugh emoji, again, ×4. It's not the solution you think it is. No, you chose poorly. So speak for yourself again. Most marriages lasted in decades past before MTV or whatever. In the 60s, free love was fake. It's just chaos cleaning up. Same as, chaos. Just Chad's cleaning up, same as always. Yeah, even back in the 60s, the free love thing was just these guys pretending to be so groovy to deflower all those idiots. Give them some dope and get on their way with the next one. Except the chicks bought it hook, line, and sinker then. We're all free spirits, yay! Until, you know, they realized later how hard it was to find a man to settle down with them. And that's only compounded in the years since, right? Same as always that they got all that wrong since. Building a relationship and life with someone earlier is way better if they are not an alcoholic or a dopehead loser. Again, like the entertainment women and the other women and the yada, yada, yada. Okay. Could not find some keywords. So Brandon... Oh, here we're going back to financial stuff. Okay, so yeah, we're not going to come here now. Yeah, this is all finance stuff. Okay, so we're saving this for the next part. I think we're almost done here. And then about household chores. We're only at page 19, but I don't think we're getting to page 30. I think a lot of this is going into the next. And now we're talking about religion. And other... yeah, okay. That's a good place to end it here, I think. We're already way too long, and nobody's going to watch a whole hour of this that I thought was going to be half an hour, but that's fine. So I don't have to say boycott Tinder at the end of this video because the whole video has been boycott Tinder. But once again, you can do the buy me a coffee or pizza thing. I activated the app. I'm sorry if there was a lot of extra nonsense in this one. Like I said, if you want the juicy stuff, watch the previous episodes. This is a little bit, not terrible, but yeah, kind of whatever. But stuff to get through. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'll try to give you some useful references or funny anecdotes or something. I don't know.